AD5 level EU official. For AD7, roughly it's around 5,500. Now, when it comes to eligibility, and when it comes to participating in the exams themselves, there are two elements we need to look at. There are certain general criteria that you need to meet, and there are some specific criteria for each domain or each job profile. Let's look at these one by one. So both for for the AD5 and for the AD7, the objective criteria that every applicant and candidate needs to meet is that you need to be an EU citizen. Croatians at this stage cannot apply. It's more likely than not that there will be a dedicated competition for Croatian citizens, or technically speaking, it might be run together with some other selection procedure, but for Croatian citizens, that's a bit of a different story. Especially for men, that they must have completed their military service, and legally speaking, they must be able to take up the job, that they have the right profile, so to say, that there is no criminal proceedings against the person, so they have the necessary moral standing to be or to become an EU official. And then there must be an ability to perform the duties. And this is nicely reconciled with the equality of chances. So if you happen to be, say, dyslexic, or you have an impaired vision, this should not prevent you from being able to apply. At the same time, you need to be able to sit the exam, and then you need to be able to perform the duties. If you meet all these criteria, you are formally eligible to participate in the exams. Now, I mentioned the importance of diploma. Here's a quick recap on the question of diploma. For the AD5, I mentioned that you need to have a 3-year diploma, so essentially a bachelor's degree, or to be a student in the last semester, where you are going to get your degree by the end of July this year. And then in some profiles, and I'll come back to this in a moment, but in some profiles, the diploma needs to be relevant to the profile. You know, the public administration and external relations, these are broad fields where the diploma can be in any field whatsoever. I'll come back to this in more detail in a moment. For AD7, I mentioned that 6 years of work experience is needed, and as long as your degree is of 4 years of study, or in case of 3 years of study, then you need 1 extra year of relevant work experience. And then the same rules of diploma applies for AD7. Now here I'd like to point out something very, very important rule. You can only apply for one of these two. You cannot run for AD5 and AD7 at the same time. These are considered one batch of exams, and this is considered as one exam that's running logistically and kind of legally speaking at the same time. So you need to choose only one domain and one of the AD5 or one of the AD7 profiles. So here's a quick recap on the question of diplomas. The European Public Administration, the EPA, basically you can have any diploma whatsoever to be eligible to apply, and that has some repercussions. It has certain consequences in terms of the chances, in terms of evaluating your chances and deciding which profile to apply for. Because if someone who has a diploma in veterinary studies, and someone who has a diploma in physics, and another person who has a diploma in international relations, all of them are eligible to choose this profile. And as a matter of fact, if you are not eligible for anything else but the European Public Administration, it's pretty likely that the vast majority of the applicants will end up in the European Public Administration field. Now, in the area of law, you need to have a diploma in law. This is clearly stated, so it's quite a straightforward requirement, and there's no real debate on this. On the other hand, when it comes to audit, your qualification may not be called a diploma in auditing, because in many member states you might have studies in economics, or you might have done studies in finance or accounting, related fields, but not necessarily audit. So there, the criterion of the diploma, it means it has to be a relevant diploma and relevant to the duties related to this field. Communication, again, a specific area, because you need to have your diploma in one of these 5 fields that you see on the screen: communication, public relations, media studies, political science, or journalism. So if your qualification, your background does not include any of these fields, you are not eligible for communication. And this is something to seriously consider, because if you apply, you validate your application, and as it turns out that your background is not eligible, say, for communication as your chosen field, you will be disqualified. So this is something that I do recommend for everyone to exercise a lot of caution and make sure that you look at which area are you formally able to apply for. And last but not least, the external relations. To the greatest surprise of many of us, there is absolutely no specific qualification that is required to apply for the external relations profile. So to summarize, the public administration and the external relations profiles are the ones where any diploma goes. And as a consequence, very likely that these are the fields that will attract the highest number of candidates. And as I will mention later as well, you should choose, or at least this is my humble recommendation to you, you should choose the field, the more specific or specialist the field, the better your chances. And this argumentation is reinforced by the statistics from last year, that the highest turnout of candidates was in the public administration. Proportionally speaking, there are more places available there, but at the same time, given the very high turnout of candidates, there the chances were somewhat lower than